Well, hey, legends, and welcome back to GW Unspoken, the podcast where we talk about the things we don't typically talk about, but absolutely should. And today we're tackling a silent battle that lives in our heads rent-free: gratitude versus comparison. These two, they don't get along, like oil and water, like pineapple and pizza, like toddlers and logic. You've been there. You can't live in gratitude and comparison at the same time. It's one or the other. So let's unpack that. And this is the problem. Why gratitude disappears when comparison enters. Here's how it usually works. You're having a pretty good day. You're grateful. You're vibing. You've got your solid coffee and your hair's doing the thing you like. And your inbox isn't threatening your sanity. There's less than 100 in there and everything's good. And then bam, you open up LinkedIn or you open up Instagram or one of your socials, or you walk into the staff room and someone says, "Oh, did you hear Lisa bought a new house and got a new promotion?" And suddenly your gratitude evaporates like a puddle in the sun and you're left with that awful sinking feeling that you are behind. Comparison is the thief of joy. But no one tells you it's also mugs gratitude in a back alley, takes its shoes off, runs off feeling you're not doing enough. And comparison triggers a part of the brain called the default mode network, basically the internal monologue that loops when we're not focused. Studies show that this is where self-criticism, overthinking, and comparison live rent-free. And if left unchecked, it becomes our default lens, one where we're never enough. And if we're surrounded by everything we once wished for and don't have it, we start struggling. We teach this to the kids at the moment at school in our life skills class, and we talk about happiness is, what we have divided by what we want. And Tim Bono said that in his book. And it's really important to understand that, because once we start comparing things that we don't have, we start stopping looking at things we do have. And it's never enough. We feel depleted. We don't feel like we actually have our lives on track. We see it all the time, especially with the fashions, what people have for their shoes and their clothes. So what does the science say? Because, I love a bit of research and a fact bomb. So here we go. In 2018, a study from the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found that participants who limited their social media use for up to 30 minutes a day, experienced a significant drop in depression and loneliness. And look, there's lots of research out there now showing how social media can lead to anxiety and depression, but also loneliness, that silent killer, and a noticeable increase in self-worth and gratitude. And why? Because you stop feeding the comparison monster. Your brain has space to actually see what's working and what's positive in your own life. And here's the other one. Gratitude activates the medial prefrontal cortex, that part of the brain associated with decision-making and emotional regulation. And it helps rewire the brain to look for the good instead of obsessing and scanning for what is missing. Because often the negative is more powerful than the positive. But when we compare, especially on curated platforms, we activate the amygdala, the MIGI, that fear and survival center, the fight, flight, and response, where there's no real threat, just someone's Bali holiday pics with a rise, grind, repeat caption. Ugh. So here's a controversy. We secretly like comparison. Here's actually the juicy bit. We complain about comparing, but secretly we engage in it. Why? Because it gives us feedback, a sense of ranking. I don't know how many times that when you go into a parent-teacher interview, I'm talking to parents out there, and you hear the grades and what the students are doing and how your child's progressing. But often all we want to know is, are they engaged and how do they compare with that age group they're working with? It's interesting, isn't it? And sometimes we actually think of that ranking says, at least I'm doing better than them. I've definitely been feeling guilty of that. So, or worse, I'll never catch up to her. And don't even get me started on the competitive gratefulness Olympics. I'm grateful for my coffee. I'm grateful for world peace, emotional healing, and the reunion of my inner child with the cosmos. Okay, Susan, calm down. Sometimes we use gratitude as a performance, just not a tool to subtly compare how spiritual or balanced we are. But true gratitude, it's quiet, it's personal, it doesn't need to be posted, praised, or polished. So here's a mic drop moment. If your gratitude is dependent on what someone else has or doesn't have, it's not gratitude. It's actually comparison in a costume. So what can we do instead? Look, how do we shift out of comparison back into genuine brain-boosting gratitude? How do we do that? Here's a couple for you. Number one, interrupt the scroll. If you catch yourself comparing on social media, pause, ask yourself, what am I seeking right now? Validation, connection, or am I just bored? Number two, name what's yours. Instead of I'm behind, reframe this to I'm on my own timeline. Gratitude grows when we honor our path, not someone else's highlight reel. And number three, Practice gratitude before exposure. So try starting your day with 3 specific things you're grateful for before you let the world in via your phone. Prime your brain, to prime it to focus on abundance, not lack. Try this at home. Try and do a gratefulness journal. We did it at home with a big A3 sheet paper that was stuck on the wall, and the kids would come in the morning and they'd actually write at least 2 things that they were grateful for, and they'd write them down, and they had to be different each day. And you couldn't look at anybody else's. And we've got lots of kids, so in about 3 days we had to change the A3 paper or add to it. But it was amazing how you could see their feelings was more positive and happy before they came down for breakfast then. So the first thing in the morning, whenever they came in you come jump inside the room, 3 things or 2 things they're grateful for. And it was just awesome just to see that wall over a period of time. Because gratitude doesn't mean selling, it means actually seeing. See what you've got, who you are, and how far you've come. Because even when someone else seems further ahead, if you worry about yourself and think about the things you've got in your life, you become more happier. So let's wrap up this thing with 3 journal prompts, this podcast, because things work in 3s. So here's 3 things I suggest we work on. Number 1, when was the last time you compared yourself to someone else? And what did that moment reveal about what you valued or feared? So be real. Don't just judge yourself. Just get curious. Try and think about what happened. All right? Number 2, ask this question. What am I genuinely proud of or grateful for in my life right now, regardless of how it looks to others? This is for you, so it's not for show. What's something you are really grateful for yourself? Okay? Try and get a little personal one about that one. And number 3, what would your life look like if you stopped measuring against others just for 1 week? So who might you become if you trusted your own inner peace? It's a bit deep, but I wonder how it would go if you actually did that. And I understand with the journal prompts, it's easy to do, easy not to do, but it's a slight edge principle. If you can just start doing these and start reshaping your thoughts and mind, maybe you become more happy, but also you can influence those people around you to do similar things. So that's it, my friends. That's it. Another episode of GW Unspoken's in the bag. If this stirred something in for you, if you've been living in the echo chamber of not enough, I just want to remind you, you are already enough. So not when you achieve more, not when you catch up, right now, as is. And if this has helped, please pass it on. Share it with someone who needs to hear the comparison can't sit at the gratitude table. So I'm Gary, and I'm bloody grateful you chose to be here. And I'll see you next week on GW Unspoken, where we keep saying the things that matter out loud.